And now joining me here on a Missouri Valley Conference chat, Ben Jacobson, the head coach of Northern Iowa. And Ben, when we talked in the preseason, even with COVID, there was a much different outcome or projection for this team. Obviously, with AJ Green, there was great optimism, hope that this team was going to be a team that could win the league and get in the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying you can't now after 1-3 start, but it's made much more difficult by AJ's surgery and his hip injury that he's going to have to go through and all that's gone on, obviously, with COVID. So first off, if you could just take me through just what these first 2 months have been like.
Yeah, for our group, Andy, outside of what everyone's dealing with, right, with the pandemic and the protocols and the testing, and you might be scheduled to play a game, and and then you're not, and 24 hours later, you've got to get ready for somebody else. Our trip to Sioux Falls during the week leading up to that tournament in Sioux Falls, we prepared for 3 different opponents, 24 hours, 24 hours, 24 hours, going from one tournament in Nebraska and then switching and going to Sioux Falls, and then the opponent changed. So if you set aside those things, which most teams, if not all teams in the country, have gone through that same sort of thing, right? I mean, that's what we're all dealing with. That's what we're all going through. From our standpoint, we went to Sioux Falls without Trey Burhow. He got COVID and went into COVID protocol, so we played 3 without him there. We got back. Our next game was at Richmond, and in between Sioux Falls and Richmond is when we found out about AJ, his hip, and then, of course, his surgery and now being done for the year. And during that same time as well, Andy, our Antoine Kimmons was a true freshman for us last year, and at first guard off the bench and backed up, at that point guard position. And he went home to do with the pandemic, family situation to do with the pandemic. So not only is it AJ that we're without right now, it's also a sophomore point guard who, if he wasn't starting for us, he's playing 20 to 25 minutes. So our 2 primary ball handlers with AJ and Antoine haven't been with us. And so those challenges, just from our roster standpoint, what it does for the other guys in terms of the roles that they were playing before we went to Sioux Falls, and 10 days later, Trey Burhow, Ty Pickford's now backing up at the point. He hasn't played the point for us. Trey's handling the ball for us. Against Evansville in our first game a couple of days ago, he gets 10 assists and 2 turnovers. I don't know that he got 10 assists in 3 or 4 games combined last year, simply because AJ was handling the basketball, right? So a number of things shift on the court, and that's what people see. They see the offense, the defense. Hey, well, if AJ was there or if Antoine was there, this would work, that would work. I think the thing that people don't necessarily understand, when you do have some injuries or you have a shift in your roster, what's that do to the other guys? What's that do to their responsibilities? And now that takes away a little bit of what they do best because they've got more to do. So we've had a lot of that type of stuff going on with our team. And we played our best game against Missouri State. We got whooped pretty good in the first one. They beat us 20 in the first one. We came back in the second one. We're up 25, 10 minutes in, and played our best game. So the team is capable. The roster is still plenty capable. We showed that a week ago.
So look, I've talked to plenty of your peers, plenty of players, almost every day. And the majority of coaches and players want to play. Personnel are going through extraordinary measures to ensure the safety of all staff, players, whether it's medical, whether it's game ops people. I mean, a lot of people are doing a lot of things to try to make this happen. And if people want to opt out, that's great. Don't judge them. Same with coaches. But for those players that you just mentioned, the remaining, your staff that want to play, what's it been like to ensure they get, as best a quality season as they can?
Yeah, that's, we've had, I think, again, like so many administrations around the country that have worked hard in every aspect, right? In every facet, whether it's putting money into testing, putting money into the protocols, right? That list A through Z, what an administration has to do right now. Our administration has worked hard to give us that opportunity. They got us back on campus early. A lot of teams are still home for the summer. Our administration, and because of, part of it is because of the state of Iowa. What's happened in the state of Iowa from a coronavirus, whether it's a lockdown or it's, and whatever it might be, ours hasn't been strict, if you will. So we've been able to do some things in our state, but our administration has still had to work hard to get us here. So we've had an opportunity going all the way back to the summer. We've been able to get together and work on things and put our team together. So, I think for our guys right now, and it is so important that we, from a basketball standpoint, fundamentally, we're not where we need to be, right? And that's, you lose a couple of games, and I think sometimes people point to the big things, and we're in a situation where we're getting hurt fundamentally. You get beat off the drive, they help in, they kick, you hit an open three in the corner, one of the highest efficiency shots. Like, things are happening in our recent games with Evansville, where that's the part of it. And I think hard every year to get really good fundamentally at both ends, but maybe even more so this year because of what's going on with the pandemic, and you're at practice for 2 hours, you maybe work out a little bit, but then you're back and you just gotta, you're by yourself, or you're with your one teammate, right? And you're there for the rest of the day trying to figure out what to do with your time. And so that, for us, basketball wise, and is the biggest thing. Our administration has been great. They're giving us an opportunity from a protocol standpoint, testing standpoint, resource standpoint, to be able to compete. And that's all we can ask as coaches and players, is to be in a position where we can get to practice and where we can get to the game floor. I also think our league has done a good job. The back-to-backs, Andy, that isn't something that, our league and some other leagues, right? None of us want to do that, but it's given us an opportunity. I think before this is, over the course of the next 2 months, I felt like this is our best opportunity to play the most games, which was going to be important this year. So our league has done a good job from that standpoint. So we're in a position where I think we're going to have a chance to play most of our games, practice most days. And for the team we have right now, fundamentally, we've got to get a lot better.
Yeah, I firmly believe, because we've got 2 months, that these games are going to get in if they have to be rescheduled. And obviously some have been. Drake's off to a phenomenal start. And that's my point too. Like, a school like Drake, why should they suddenly have to shut it down just because maybe some others don't feel comfortable? If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine.
Right.
You don't have to participate. But there are plenty of schools, players in your state of Iowa, obviously, like someone like Luka Garza, senior year. Let these guys have this opportunity if they can do it in a safe manner. The race itself, Drake is off to a great start. We know Loyola. What are your thoughts here? Only 4 games in, essentially, and we've got plenty to go.
Yeah, and back to your previous point, Andy, I'm with you 100%. People are going to make a decision, and we had to make one. We shut it down for a week, and we didn't have a COVID outbreak, but our roster had gotten down to 7 scholarship players, and it just wasn't a healthy thing with all the stuff that I knew about our team, right? So we decided to take that 7 or 8 days, and Garda was great at Wisconsin. They end up getting Loyola, right? Marshall was great. We just bumped it back to the next year. So I think coaches have really been good about working with each other. But your point's a great one. If a team isn't able to do something, or they decide not to, or an individual does, let's not get into judging them, right? Let's not say, hey, well, you should do this, you should do that. I think coaches, programs, they know what's best at that given moment because you're with each other. And I think you've made a great point on that. The league, I've said it for a long time, it's great for all of us when we've got teams that are doing well, and right now Drake's off to as you said, they're off to a terrific start. I think they've got the most wins in the country as we're talking here. And so they're doing great. Their net ranking came out. They're 20 right now in the net ranking. That's good for everybody. Missouri State's in the top 100 in the net ranking. Loyola's got pretty much everybody back. Porter's got a terrific team. Bradley's done well the last 2 years, winning the conference, the postseason tournament in our league. There's a few other of us that, we're not done yet, right? As you said, we're 4 games in. We're not done yet. There's going to be some competitive games still, and we feel like we'll be part of that as we get things sorted out. But I love seeing a number of our teams inside the top 100 in the net ranking, right? If we're going to get a second team into the NCAA tournament, or if we're going to get, hopefully a third team into the NCAA tournament, you got to have 3, 4, 5 teams inside the top 100. So you got chances to pick up some of those games in the 18-game schedule. And probably even more so this year because there weren't many opportunities for anyone in the non-conference, right? The non-conference was so out of whack with COVID. So I'm glad that we've got some teams in the top 100 right now. I know we've got some good teams, but you have to be inside the top 100 so you get those quad 1, quad 2 opportunities.